Hey guys, welcome to our channel. So I'm trying to get through um, this Big Lebowski, and seems that I'm not being able to put the time I wanted to into doing some of this couple weeks. But what do you do? Um, but we did get through the first part of the Big Lebowski. The carpet, or where he should say the rug pissers did. You think the rug pissers did this? He now says you think the carpet pissers did this, and it's interesting because Dan, I think Mandela or quantum effects, Dan had mentioned that he remembers carpet pissers the whole time, which is interesting. And I would figure that somebody would. I mean, that's the way this usually works. Uh, this was a newer change, though, is the thing, and we literally could almost pinpoint the moment that it did change, about 2 years ago, probably 2 years ago ish, um, when we were watching the movie at my cousin's. It said rug pissers, and then all of a sudden, one time we were watching it, and they said carpet pissers, and we both were like, "Whoa!" And so gonna work on that. Gonna work on understanding why some of these changes, and some people just remember it the way it was. Maybe it does have something to do with these quantum computers. I'm not 100% certain how this is working. Maybe it's a shift for some people, and maybe some people just remember the switch. I'm not quite certain. But you had rug to carpet, you crossed off the R's, and you got UGCAPET. Because you cross off these R's, you got UGCA, and this R's gone, and PET, and that's what I brought down. Now, we already got this to go forwards and backwards in the stock market, and we came up with something really weird and interesting because we've never had a research center hit with a stock market, a research anything hit with the stock market surges. And all of a sudden, you got this. CGU research centers, and they research the stock market fairly heavily. What about genetics? Let's find out. Genetics. So now we're hitting genetics, and we're going UGC, which winds up being a genetic code, theonine. And I had to scroll quite a ways down to find it. 3-UGC-5, and it's a genetic code. So I'll provide the links, of course, it's there. Um, who knows why that may have been hit? They probably could have hit every code on that list by the time you hit that list, right? So that's interesting. Then you got AP, which ends up being AP Biology, Classical, and Molecular Genetics. And I'll provide the link. You got Introduction to Heredity. Mendel and his P's, the law of segregation, the law of independent assortment, probabilities in genetics, and it goes on. So, yeah, yeah, that's AP. And moving on, you got PE, which ends up being PE/PPE multi-gene family codes. So you got, and PE also ends up being pulmonary embolism, so that's a medical condition. I think it deals with the lungs. And then you're left with T by itself, which ends up being T-box proteins. I think we've had that before. And that gets you through going forwards. And now we're coming back, TEPACU or GU. And we started with TEP, and that ends up being TEP1 gene, polymorphic immunity gene. So then you got AC, which ends up being auto-flowering cannabis seeds, AC genetics. Now, I almost blew that off until I thought about it. Cannabis is becoming legal. I think it's legal in about half the states in the country, including the one I'm in. So actually, when I stop and think about it, I'm a little bit surprised. I should be a little bit surprised that cannabis genetics hasn't been found already, because it's a big thing, a real big thing. Um, I think there's more cannabis stores than grocery stores around here. And that's probably could be said true for anywhere that cannabis is legal, right? There's definitely more cannabis shops than smoke shops, like tobacco smoke shops around here. In fact, some of the tobacco smoke shops have closed. So it actually shouldn't be all that big of a surprise to hit cannabis genetics. And now I'm not surprised. And now I'm a little bit wondering why we hadn't hit them before, and we may, and if we'll continue hitting it, because it's kind of a big thing. But then you wind up with CGU, and CGU, guys, ends up being CGU, you guessed it, research centers. Ah, yes. They research genetics too. So CGU research centers, human genetics. You've also got Pacific Rim Transdisciplinary Tobacco and Alcohol Use Research Center came up. I don't see that anything but my genetic thing being there. But CGU, Quality of Life Research Center, CGU Personal Genetics Education Project. Yeah, so CGU Research Centers. And I will just click this link right here. And that's the one I'll provide. It's there. They research genetics too. So it'll be an interesting thing to see if they research chemicals as well. So we'll have our eyes out for that. Then CG, I went ahead and broke that down to see if it would break down, and it did. CG is Intelligene CG, and that deals with cancer genomics. And U by itself, amazingly enough, with genetics, ends up being U Research Foundation and Gene U Project, and they both deal with genetics. And research. But what I went ahead and did, guys, because honestly, there it is again. CGU Research Centers came up in the that search, in the monies or the finance search, and it came up now in the genetics search. So I circled them, and we'll see if it comes up again in the chemical search and the random hits search. And then we'll run those numbers that we get out of these. We'll run those numbers against the CGU research centers and see what we get. Now, guys, I understand that quantum computers are tough to come by here still. I'm to understand there's a waiting list to get onto one of a couple years. I got informed of this the other day, and that's interesting. I mean, first of all, quantumly, a couple years is no time at all because everything happens at once anyway, right? But it goes farther than that, and the person that explained that to me and my fiance, we asked him about other people in other outcome points, other realities using quantum computers that were more accessible to them than they were here. Well, certainly it's possible and probable even. So I would say some of these quantum computer users um, are probably using them here, getting on the waiting list or what have you. And some of them are probably in other realities calculating in this reality. So, they're leaving the same code that it would if you were calculating from here to another reality. So, if that makes any sense. So, I guess what I'm saying is not all of these quantum computers are necessarily even being used in this reality here. They could just be in another reality using this parallel reality to them to calculate a problem along with several others, of course, not just this one. So there's that to keep in mind as well. There's quantum computers in other realities being used, and in some of those realities, again, they may be more accessible, and they would be more accessible. I mean, in some realities, these companies in these research centers and the Perry Stone Ministries and stuff might own a quantum computer and possess one themselves in another reality. In fact, they probably do. Somebody had mentioned on this channel, we got a comment that everything's going to go quantum in the next 20 years. And if that's the case, then it's probably already gone quantum somewhere else. We're behind. So, but I'm not calling it yet, guys. I'm just, these are curious to me. This research center here, and the same thing comes up in genetics. And if the same thing came up in chemicals and random and the numbers don't run against it, I don't know what else to do but call it, because that's what we've been doing, and we could be wrong. And if we are wrong, we'll just have to come out and say, oh no, this whole list of quantum computer users is wrong. Well, we were wrong. But I don't see that. And I'm seeing a distinct pattern here. And when there's a pattern, then there's a pattern for a reason. It just isn't. I mean, you could argue it's a coincidence. I get that. It could definitely be argued as a coincidence, but that's a pretty big coincidence, and the data keeps piling up, so the coincidences keep piling up. So it's an interesting thing either way, and I'm going to let this video go at that. And for now, guys, thanks for all your thumbs up, thumbs down. Thanks for all your comments, leads, feedback, and subscriptions, and participation in all this. So I'm always glad to hear somebody else's perspective. So that thanks, Dan, for telling me your what you see. Because it is interesting that some people remember that he always said carpet pissers, and that's the only point in the movie that they refer to a carpet. Now, I don't even know, there might be a carpet at the Big Lebowski's mansion somewhere. That I wasn't really looking for a carpet in the movie. I don't specifically remember seeing a carpet. Even in the movie, it was a rug, and that's an interesting thing that people remember it being called a carpet, even just that one time. And being that it's only one time, it makes it stand out even more like a sore thumb. So to me. So anyway, guys, we'll see if we can get to the bottom of a few of these things, and that's going to be it for now, guys. Rambled on again. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. And we'll see how the chemical hits come out. So there'll be a part 3 coming. We'll see if this pattern continues. We'll see if the CGU Research Centers researches chemicals as well as genetics and the stock market. So it could be an interesting thing, guys. And for now, you guys have a great rest of your day.